The podcast you are about to hear is not affiliated with or authorized by CoolGames Inc., Polygon, or Vox Media. It was made as a tribute to the CoolGames Inc. fan community. Now, enjoy the podcast. Enjoy the podcast. Look into my eyes. Enjoy the podcast.
Welcome back to CoolGames Inc. Vancouver. It's a game design podcast where we take your ideas and turn them into good games. I'm Euan.
I'm Spanky. Spanky works on Twitter, but don't call me Spanky Works, just Spanky Works.
And if we sound a bit depressed, it's because we just recorded a half hour of podcast and then I realized that my microphone wasn't on.
Yeah, so Euan was bad, and so we might have a shorter episode this week and do a CoolGames Inc. Vancouver Junior.
Yeah, I guess so.
Because Euan hates me and wants me to have a horrible life.
Mm-hmm,
How are you doing today, Euan?
I was doing good until this thing happened. I was just recording a podcast and then I realized I'd been a dum-dum and not turned my microphone on. How about you? How are you doing?
I'm doing wonderful.
How did what was it? How did Silent Homecoming Repressed Memories do?
Oh yeah, Silent Homecoming Repressed Memories did really well, actually. Got rave reviews from all the critics. The people who make the Silent Hill games, Konami, were not a big fan of it, but because everyone just universally hates Konami because they suck, they like the lawyers and everything were just like, nah, fuck you, we don't really like you, so we're just gonna not enforce your copyrights because you're a dick. And then it worked out for us, so we made billions of dollars, and it's the best Spooktober game ever.
This worked out really well in our favor, which I don't remember it doing last time that we did this, but you know what, I'll let you have this.
Okay. So it is the second episode in Spooktober, and so we should probably try and skew towards some more horror games for our pitches. Okay. But I did want to bring up, as Euan knows, that I'm having a conundrum where I did the same thing that everyone else does on Halloween month and changed my Twitter name to something spooky, and I put the pumpkin and ghost emojis on it. But it's Spoonky, 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 and it is, it's like, I don't know whether to just go to spooky, because spooky kind of sounds like spanky, but it's also just the word spooky, so I don't know if everyone's gonna like get that I'm trying to like spookify my name.
I think spooky works,
or if I just
sounds close enough to
spooky works is good, but I'm not spooky works, because spooky doesn't work, spanky works, so call me Spanky, not Spanky Works. But spooky doesn't work. Spooky's not good. So anyway, I've kept it as Spoonky because I like that, even though I think it could be better if it was spooky. I just feel like I need people to get the joke more than I need the joke to be better. So I feel like the trade-off I get from more people getting the joke is better than having it be a better joke but less people get it.
All right, I have a horror game here that we could try.
Okay.
This is from Ken McLean on the CoolGames Inc. subreddit. If you put your game ideas on the CoolGames Inc. subreddit, we will most likely see them, but if you want to make sure, you can email them at coolgamesincvn@gmail.com. That's KEWL. That's how you should send them if you want me to read them out. If you want Spanky to read them out, you can tweet them at us at CoolGamesIncVN on Twitter.
Yep.
You can also leave them in the comments on our YouTube videos or in the comments on our Reddit posts. So this is just a post from the CoolGames Inc. subreddit. Basically Slender, but Slender Man has stubby little legs in this version.
Slender, that's the game where you have to like find pages around and then people get scared at it on YouTube videos?
Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
Okay.
So,
and he has stubby legs in this one?
He has stubby legs.
What if he's a corgi? what if I take the stubby little legs and instead have it be a corgi with no face and stubby little corgi legs?
See, when I was imagining it as a corgi, I was like, oh, that's cute, but corgi without a face is possibly the most upsetting series of words you could possibly have said to me.
There's this image, and I think it's pretty old now. I'm not sure if it's still making the rounds on the old interweb, but it was of a dog with a slice of ham on its face, and it would get shared as like, this poor animal. It looked like the dog had just had burn scarring on its face and didn't have a face, and I was like, this poor animal, was abused and whatever, and like if you only looked at the non-maximized version, like the thumbnail, it did kind of look like that, and it was sad. But if you clicked on it, it was actually just a dog with a slice of ham on its face.
Okay.
So I think that instead of finding notes around the forest, you're finding slices of ham.
See, I think this would kind of be effective as a horror game, because any game where there are dogs that can attack you, like in some of the Call of Duty games, or
the first Resident Evil.
Yeah, in Resident Evil. The one I've noticed is in Wolfenstein: The New Order. They're like robot dogs that jump up on you, and you are helpless to stop them from jumping on you, and you just have to struggle and stab them to kill them once they are. And that is still kind of terrifying to me whenever that happens in a video game.
Yeah, so even like the first Resident Evil had the Cerberus dogs, which were scary. And I think they were the only thing scary in the first Resident Evil game, because that game is, well, I like it. I do like the first. Like, some people think that, I'm glad the series got started, but the first one's shit. I actually still like the first one, but none of it's scary. It's dorky and just really mostly stupid, but I still like it. Silent Hill, one of my favorite series of video games, had I don't know if they called them Cerberus dogs, but they were like in that weird Silent Hill style where you can't really tell if it has a face or not, and they don't really have fur, and it's like awkward, but you can tell it's a dog by like its shape and how it walks and stuff. There'll be like 3 or 4 of the, and in Silent Hill the combat is garbage intentionally. You are pretty much helpless in combat scenarios in the Silent Hill video games, and when the dogs start like multiplying and like you get 3 or 4 of them around, like you will get hit, and like the way that the game takes agency away from you when you're hit by these devil dogs is horrifying. I would say the only enemy I think, well, personally, I think the nurses are some of the scariest enemies in Silent Hill, but the only enemies that I can think of that in the first Silent Hill game, which is maybe my favorite Silent Hill, that's scarier than the dogs, are the elementary school children that have no features, that wield knives, and they just grab onto your legs and stab you. So
we're making a horror game where the horror villain is a corgi, and so I think the thing that it teaches you to be scared of is when you hear the panting of the corgi as it gets closer, as it sneaks up behind you. And I think maybe you are able to struggle and get away from the corgi so that it creates that moment of panic where you're mashing a button to try and get the corgi off you when he jumps on you.
Yeah,
because that's the scary part of it, is trying to get him off.
Yeah, there should be a mechanic where you get him off, but we never explain it to the player. So every time it happens, they kind of have to go through a panic phase of just hitting every button because they know one of the buttons helps.
Yeah, it's like when you're mashing buttons when you're throwing Pokeballs. I think a lot of people do that they don't know exactly what makes a Pokeball work better, but they will try pressing buttons.
Yeah, I mean, as far as I know, nothing makes a Pokeball work, but I could be 1,000,000% wrong. I've played only the Game Boy and Game Boy Color games, so I could be wrong. Yeah. But I don't think anything actually does help. But everyone has their own like little, this is what I do, and and it doesn't actually do anything. But like to them, it's like a ritual that they have to do every time they throw a Pokeball.
I'm trying to think if the rhythm mechanic is actually explained at any point in Mother 3, because it has, when you're doing combat, when you hit a character, you have to keep pressing the hit button in beat with the background music, and if you can keep it at the right tempo, then you'll get more hits in. but I don't think it actually tells you that at any point of the game, so I wasn't figuring it out until halfway or 2/3 into the game.
Here's one from Benicus Rex. Ben, trademark symbol, parentheses, but spooky, on Twitter. Cool video game idea. Tycoon, a sandbox game where you build tycoons. I played so much Roller Coaster Tycoon as a kid.
Mm-hmm.
I loved Roller Coaster Tycoon. And I was a sadistic little shit and would make horror parks where there were no bathrooms or exits. And I would have roller coasters that would just fucking throw people into rivers. And you could even pick people up and just fucking drown them. I was so terrible as a child. I'm really glad that we don't, in the real world, allow children to run theme parks because it would be disgusting and horrifying. But so Tycoon is a tycoon game where you build tycoons.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if we're going to go like very literal with that, and it'd be like we build like real estate tycoons, like they're robots and we just build them, and based on our programming that we give them, they do good or they fail.
Yeah, I was unsure of what the process of creating a tycoon would be.
Or do we make the people who run Roller Coaster Tycoon, Zoo Tycoon, etc. So basically we're like a conglomerate game where all like the zoo, the theme park, there's probably like every tycoon at this point, train tycoon, everything like that. Like they all have like a financial firm.
Yeah. I think you're the boss of all of those chain companies, and your job is to try and hire the tycoons that run them without hiring a child that will try and destroy everybody. So you're interviewing people and you're trying to figure out if they're going to be the kind of person to shoot people off of a roller coaster and kill them, or if they will be an actual business runner.
You're hiring people.
Mm-hmm.
You're like a conglomerate multinational corporation that owns Tycoon, like that owns roller coasters and zoos and all that stuff. And you're trying to hire people, and like based on their physical feature, it's almost like an LA Noire type game where you have to tell if they're fucking crazy people just by the interviews that you have with them. And if they end up being like Little Rascal style, like 3 kids in a trench coat, or also BoJack Horseman style 3 kids in a trench coat, then and you hire them and they go on to just like fucking start drowning people. Like it's not game over. You have to like install new management, do the public relations for why you hired that person in the first place, and it's basically just like a really shitty job.
Yeah, you try and convince everybody to come back to your roller coasters.
At this time, we don't have 3 children in a trench coat running the entire operations of the theme park. So you should come back and spend your money here.
Mm-hmm.
I live really close to one of places in America, Branson, Missouri, and honestly, like I guess part of why I liked Roller Coaster Tycoon so much as a kid is because we have a couple roller coastery theme parks in Branson, and there's some stuff like that. So I kind of like I would go there.
Mm-hmm.
So going to theme parks was not like we didn't do it all the time, but like once or twice a year, just because of the proximity to them.
Yeah.
But now that I'm thinking about it, there were several, and I'm thinking of one in particular. One theme park in particular that had several attractions that I think, like, just thinking back on them, they might have been like not real, and I just thought them up, or like me and my friends would like kind of just exaggerate about them or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But thinking on it, maybe that theme park was ran by 3 kids in a trench coat, because the stories we used to tell about that theme park kind of made it seem like that might be a real thing. So maybe Tycoon is like real life.
It's just real life.
Yeah. So Tycoon is actually just a job. Like it's just a job posting on Indeed.com is all it is. It's not a video game. It's a job posting on Indeed.com, and it's like packaged like a video game, but what it really is all the theme park companies in the world actually have a real problem of children posing as capable tycoons that could run these theme parks and such, and they keep sneaking in and getting in control and then just causing a bunch of havoc and chaos. And it's like a real thing that happens and you're trying to prevent it.
Okay. I'd just like to say, so you've been on a fair deal of roller coasters and rides in your time then?
Yes.
Okay, because I've been on one major ride in my entire life, really, and it's called the Zipper. It's a thing in Halifax. It's about the most uncomfortable thing I've ever done in my life that has not involved socializing. And I'm just gonna play a clip of when it started, and because I recorded myself while I was in it, so I'm just gonna edit that into the middle of the podcast right here.
Oh Jesus! This is so much worse than I expected.
So yeah, that wasn't so much fun for me. I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan of those kind of things.
There were several. So at one of the theme parks close by, called Silver Dollar City, there was a roller coaster called Buzzsaw Falls, and it's no longer there anymore. But it was like the highest drop out of every roller coaster on there, and it was really fast. But my parents, or at least my mother, tricked me into going on it by saying, "Oh, it's just a water ride," because it starts off and you're in a boat, and you're strapped in and everything. Like, oh, okay, a boat ride. I can do that because I like the water rides and I like getting splashed and stuff. That's fun. And then you go into a cave, and then something grabs the bottom of the boat, and you realize that it's a roller coaster track. It's not just a boat. And then you hear like the slow cranking, the chicka 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 as you go, and that lasts for, I'm not kidding, maybe 30 seconds of you just going higher and higher and higher and higher, and you're strapped into this tiny little boat that's now a roller coaster cart, and you get to the top and you're like, oh god, this is going and I mean, it goes almost 90 degrees straight the hell down, and I don't remember the rest of the ride. I may have fainted at that point. I don't remember. I just remember being absolutely fucking scared out of my mind that my parents tricked me to get on a roller coaster that I thought was just a water ride, and it ended up being the largest roller coaster at the park.
That sounds pretty traumatic.
Yeah, so you'd think that I would really hate roller coasters after that, and I did for a while. But anymore, roller coasters are pretty fun. So even though I had some traumatic experiences, I think that at the very least I wasn't traumatized like I would have been if I were a denizen of the theme parks that I myself controlled when I played Roller Coaster Tycoon as a child.
We talked about roller coasters for way too long. Let's go back to talking about video games for a bit, maybe.
Okay.
Here is a video game idea that is actually a real video game that got pitched. This is from the Game Hut YouTube channel, which was created by John Burden, who's the founder of Traveler's Tales, who made the Lego games. So this was an idea they had after Lego Star Wars, and they wanted to make games that used properties that are a bit older skewing than they could get away with Lego games, because the Lego games are a bit more family oriented for small children. And so they decided they were gonna do it with Looney Tunes, and their first idea was Looney Tunes The Matrix.
So did they give any in the video any of their opinions on the casting of Looney Tunes?
They did. They had the only thing that they had was a concept art picture that was Bugs Bunny as Neo and Daffy Duck as Morpheus, Elmer Fudd as Agent Smith, which is my favorite casting they did. I think they had Honey Bunny as Trinity. I don't even know who that is. I think that's from some Looney Tunes entry that I'm not familiar with.
Okay, I'll have to watch that video after we do this podcast and tell you what it is, because I'm an ancient person.
Well, I mean, I've watched a fair deal of Looney Tunes stuff, because I had Teletoon Retro on my Canadian TV, and so I'd watch the Bugs Bunny and Tweety show, or Bugs Bunny, the Bugs Bunny and Tweety show. That's what it was called, and mostly Roadrunner. Roadrunner was my favorite.
Have we told our listeners that you're actually Canadian? Because I know that
they should have figured it out by now. I mean,
the way that you say words like out and about and sorry and all that shit probably clued it in. But also, we played up in the first episode the whole we're in Vancouver thing a lot, and I'm definitely not Canadian, so I don't want people to like think that we're just like your character identity is that you were pretending to be Canadian all the time.
No, I am actually Canadian. Spanky is from Missouri.
Yeah, which you would know because I've already talked about how I live next to Branson, Missouri.
Well, I think so last time I talked about how Wizard of Oz is on CBC, so unless I'm just... people think I'm really committing to the bit, that I'm researching Canada enough to play this character.
Yeah,
which maybe I am.
If it is the case... What we're doing right now only further solidifies it, because we're like nailing this Canadian identity into our listeners' brains. So like they're totally accepting of it now, and I feel like every word I say makes them question it more.
Okay.
So I don't know if I'm doing them a favor or if I'm not doing them a favor by continuing, but I'm not gonna stop.
Well, a friend of mine thought you were from Vancouver because CoolGames Inc. Vancouver doesn't really make sense unless you've listened to that bit of CoolGames Inc.
And I haven't, so...
Yeah, you haven't. I couldn't even find... because I don't remember what episodes it's in. I probably would have sent it to you if I knew, but I couldn't track it down. Looney Tunes Matrix, yeah.
Matrix. In the original pitch that we did, where you weren't recording your audio... when we talked about this idea, I said that Porky Pig would have been the Oracle. But I want to flip that around now, because after I figured that out, after I made that pitch originally, I thought, oh no, Granny Smith would be a way better Oracle. And then that's what led us into thinking about Space Jam.
How did we get into Space Jam?
Well, I got into Space Jam whenever I was about, I think, 9 when that
okay, that's not what I meant. I meant in the recording, but okay.
So Space Jam with Michael Jordan worked really well and was a good movie, and everyone agrees that it was, a piece of really fine film. And Michael Jordan was the only live action character. Well, it wasn't the only live action character, but when they went to the Looney Tunes world, he was the only one who was live action. I think that worked, and everyone really liked that.
And then, of course, in Looney Tunes Back in Action, it was Brendan Fraser who was the main live action character. And so with Michael Jordan and Brendan Fraser, a sort of theme was established that the actors who act alongside Looney Tunes, I think maybe it was deliberate that they chose sort of actors, or Michael Jordan isn't even an actor, but
no,
sort of
he's just a
flat personalities, or people who can't act. Sorry, Brendan Fraser. People who can't act.
Also, sorry, Michael Jordan.
Also, sorry, Michael Jordan. Mostly Brendan Fraser, because he's the one who's actually dedicated his life to acting.
Right.
But yeah. So, because of that theme, Keanu Reeves is going to be live action in our Looney Tunes Matrix. He's going to reprise his role as Neo, as the One, and all of the other characters are going to be Looney Tunes. And it's going to be the best.
The Wachowski siblings, I'm pretty sure, did want to do a new Matrix movie. Because they thought that Reloaded and Revolutions, which... I think most people think that those are the better films.
Yeah, of course.
But I think that at the time they weren't quite happy with, they were rushed and on a schedule, and they feel like they didn't get to spend enough time on it. So I think they've been wanting to do a new one for a while. So I'm thinking, maybe, dip your toe in the water, test the waters before you jump into a new movie. Have them direct this video game.
And I think that could probably work pretty well. We haven't really talked about the gameplay. I guess it would be like the Lego games because it's Traveler's Tales, so it would be sort of a collectathon, beat 'em up. Because the thing about the Lego games, there's not a whole lot to them. They're pretty repetitive, but something about them just keeps you playing them.
Yeah.
I think it is the collecting, so probably
Yeah,
there is some sort of character collecting mechanic and money and breaking stuff, whatever.
I seem to recall there being a PlayStation 2 Enter the Matrix video game
Yeah.
with Neo models that we could probably just mine.
Yeah, we'll
and
just
not
use
have
those.
Or we could go like live action into the game and just record
So
Keanu Reeves
like that,
doing
like whatever
poses.
the point and click game was that has Christopher Lloyd as a live action character. Do you know about that?
Yeah. I don't know what that is, but
It's
like that, I'm sure.
Basically Roger Rabbit. It's a character. It's Christopher Lloyd plays a cartoonist who falls into his actual world.
Oh, okay.
But it's all pictures of Christopher Lloyd, like Mortal Kombat.
Yeah, so
We do that with Keanu Reeves. I think actually he should be pixelated like a Mortal Kombat character.
Yeah, and I think that we should probably pitch this to the Wachowski siblings and also Keanu Reeves first, because there's a lot of ways that representation can go, and if we're going to really sell this to them and keep them in the loop for all this, I feel like we probably shouldn't just make that kind of decision without consulting them first.
Mm-hmm. I do really. I think the most iconic moment of this game this would probably be in the trailer, is when good old Keanu Reeves first sees a Looney Tune when he's fallen into whatever rabbit hole brings him to the Looney Tunes world, and Bugs Bunny, whoever he's playing, says, "What's up, Doc?" and Keanu says, "Whoa." That's good. I think that's, and then it's the title of the game coming 2018 on Xbox and PlayStation, and then I think we've got everybody sufficiently hyped.
Yeah, we say Xbox One, but we don't say that it's actually just the original Xbox.
On which Enter the Matrix
and we
was
say
released.
PlayStation, but we don't specify that it's actually just the original PlayStation. So it's like a PlayStation 1 and an Xbox original video game.
Yeah, I think that would work. That would work very well. Do you have another idea?
Yeah, so there's this one that comes from the subreddit.
Okay.
It's by Snickaloaf.
Okay.
And it's Vampire Veterinarian.
Mm-hmm.
I want this to be a video game.
Okay.
Where you're a vampire and you do veterinary acts to animals, but you do not suck their blood because that's weird and I don't like animal violence.
Okay. I think the veterinarian
so how do we fit the vampirism in?
The veterinarian is named Dr. Acula.
Yeah, that's perfect. Yeah. And hold on, let me make sure that wasn't actually suggested. Okay, no one said that already on the comments, so we own that joke. That's 100% us.
It definitely wasn't in an Ed Wood movie before us. We own it.
No.
Mm-hmm.
So Dr. Acula, the veterinarian, in the month of Spooktober, has to do some veterinarianing on some animals because they're sick, and Dr. Acula helps animals. So I'm thinking that what we do is we have kind of a vampire by day and veterinarian by night. So it's a night veterinarian and a vampire by day. But the vampire can't go outside because the sun will hurt the vampire.
Mm-hmm.
So it's all about like getting to work on time without going in the sunlight. And also,
I think he has like a bloodlust meter, but he loves all creatures great and small except for humans. So he has to resist the urge to eat his patients, and so maybe he has to slip away and go eat a person quick and then come back.
So it's kind of like a puzzle platformer where you got to avoid the sun and also eat people. But you also have to get to work on time because there's animals that depend on you.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking that Dr. Acula is played by Eddie Murphy and can talk to the animals. So it's also a Dr. Dolittle 3 crossover title.
Dr. Dolittle has been bitten by a vampire and now he is Dr. Acula.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So did we just make the best game?
Yeah, I think we did.
All right. Like
I think we should not release this game, because if we release the best game, then suddenly all eyes are on us, and we have to live up to that by the next game. I think we should burn this idea. It's too good. We're
gonna
release
we're gonna
it.
Half-Life 3 this
We
game.
we can't create these
we
kind of
make it-
expectations for ourselves. You know.
See, we're insiders of the industry, so we know they made Half-Life 3 in 2009, and it's been done ever since then, and it's just done. Like it's completely done. But they're not releasing it because they know it won't live up to the hype. There is a heart monitor inside of Gabe Newell that whenever he dies, the game just goes live on Steam.
That's pretty dark.
So Gabe Newell also probably has sleep apnea, and if you're really lucky at like 4 a.m. when his heart stops because of sleep apnea, you can actually download Half-Life 3 for just a few brief moments.
All right. Let's do something else now. Let's stop talking about Gabe Newell dying, because that's sad.
That is kind of sad. Here's one from Twitter, and this is by @actualwackler. Twitter name is pumpkin emoji spookler pumpkin emoji. So it didn't even go with the ghost emoji. Most people do pumpkin and ghost, but spookler just went straight pumpkin, which I respect that.
Yep.
You do you. That's super cool. And it says the Lego Neil Patrick Harris movie, the game, the extended 4th chapter, not developed by Hideo Kojima.
I like it.
I just want to throw this in the vault. Probably not going to pitch it. But I feel like if we have this, if like we send it to the graphic design department and they make this like cover art for us and we hang it up on the wall, we'll have something to look at whenever we start making the exact same game that we made last week. So we do too much Lego stuff. We look at, oh, we've already done Lego stuff. Too much Neil Patrick Harris. Oh, got to cut back on that and see we've already done it. Hideo Kojima. No. Now, luckily, Spookler did not include Ashton Kutcher in this.
Yeah.
Because we don't need to cut back on the Ashton Kutcher. In fact, we should do more Ashton Kutcher this episode.
Yeah,
probably.
I'm sure he'll come up again. You'll never know when, but he's waiting. He's waiting to strike. I would like to own a Lego Neil Patrick Harris poster. I would definitely have that on my wall. I would too.
I want to let our listeners know that we've been hitting the Ashton Kutcher almost since the beginning, pretty hard, because he's one of the great actors of our time, and we really like
one of the great humans of our time.
True.
It is an honor too that in the billions of years that the universe has existed, we got to live in the exact time that Ashton Kutcher also existed.
I completely agree, but we've been hitting a lot of pitches and doing a lot of ideas with Ashton Kutcher in them. In a recent episode of the My Brother and Me podcast, they actually talked about Ashton Kutcher. So I'm thinking that
we have to win him back.
They're actually all secret big fans of ours until we started bringing up Ashton Kutcher, at which point they got jealous. Like, no, Ashton's ours. So they were, because they're using their larger fan base to bolster support for them getting Ashton Kutcher. And honestly, like that's cool, and I respect you guys, but we had Ashton first, so I get really defensive whenever our
Is this a
relationship with
game?
Ashton Kutcher.
I think this might be a game where the game is Euan and Spanky. It's a dating sim where we have to win Ashton Kutcher's attention back from the prestigious sweet soft boys of Mabim Bam.
Yeah, so that's a pretty good game.
Has
but
that
also
been done?
Everyone's.
I'm genuinely curious if a competitive dating sim has been done before, because that's a good idea.
Oh, probably. I think every dating sim has been. In fact, the dating sim, someone has probably already made a Euan and Spanky and Ashton Kutcher dating sim, including Justin, Travis, and Griffin McElroy.
If they haven't, then they're on it right now.
Exactly, and since it's Spooktober, we've got to make it a scary game. So I'm thinking Ashton Kutcher is in a really scary outfit.
Oh no, that sounds spooky. Maybe he's just wearing a t-shirt that says boo.
Yeah, that's pretty good too.
Boo with a period, not an exclamation mark. We don't want to get too spooky.
I mean, I do have the ghost on on my Twitter, because I, unlike Spookler, I did do the Spunky with a pumpkin and a ghost emoji, so I do have the ghost on there already. I think we that's spooky enough. We can just leave boo without the exclamation point.
All right. Here is another idea from the subreddit. This is from Fugorojo4. I think that's how it's pronounced. When's Waldo?
When's Waldo?
When's Waldo?
So Where's Waldo is a popular series where you find Waldo, but like everyone's favorite PC game from, I think, either the late 90s or the early 2000s, Where in Time is Carmen Sandiego. I feel like Waldo has some time traveling adventures, so you have to, similar to in the Where in Time is Carmen Sandiego video game,
or Mario's
go
missing.
from time period to time period, searching for
our good friend Waldo. Yeah. And so I think back in the day of Carmen Sandiego and of Mario is Missing and all the early PC educational... Did you play many educational games? Because I know all of the first games in my life were educational games like Math Blaster and Treasure Cove and stuff like that.
So I did play educational games, but they were by the company who does the putt-putt games.
Okay.
Do you know those?
I don't think so, no.
I think our listeners, at least some of our listeners, will know what I'm talking about. So the particular game series that I knew of was the Freddy Fish series.
Oh yeah, I know those.
The putt-putt series, I think, is a bit older than the Freddy Fish series. And then there was another one, but I've forgotten what the other like big. Oh, it was like a kid and his Captain Pajamas, maybe? I don't know.
Oh, yeah,
something
Captain
like
Pajamas. I know that.
So they were all by the same company, and I played some of those. I don't remember spending a lot of time with them. I don't think I owned them, but during what was called Latchkey at our school, which was, there's a lot of Latchkey programs, which are just after-school thingies, but this was kind of like your parents can't come pick you up, so you just stay at the school in like a specific room of the school where like one person watches over a bunch of kids from every different grade while they just beat the shit out of each other and annoy everyone. And there was a computer, and and this was horrible, but basically just the older you were, you could just kick other kids off the computer, and like you'd go to the teacher and be like, "Hey teacher, I'm 5th grade and they're in 3rd grade. I want to play the computer." And they're just like, "Okay, 3rd graders get off the computer." So the 5th graders can. So basically, I was just old enough where there were like maybe a few people in a grade above me, but they didn't want to play the computer. So I just got to basically play the computer the whole time. And that's honestly where I played a lot of Roller Coaster Tycoon.
Oh yeah.
But also educational games such as Where in Time is Carmen Sandiego and Freddy Fish 2, I think. Something about rustlers or something. I don't remember. But they had some games like that. So yes, I did play some educational games back in the day. I also played Croc. The first Croc game was on that.
I remember. I just remembered a game called Drawing with Orly, which was from the guys who made Toe Jam and Earl, and that game. The main character of that game is a little Jamaican girl with the most adorable accent, and it's like very stereotypical, but also I think the Jamaican accent is the best accent in the world. Like there's no accent that can compete with that level of perfection, of phonetic perfection.
I would say also probably yes to that. So Where's Waldo? When's Waldo? Waldo has a Jamaican accent in this game because I don't think anyone's ever heard him speak before. It turns out that he was adopted by Jamaican immigrants, so when he learned to speak, he just picked up the Jamaican accent from them.
You say no one's heard Waldo speak before. I have actually watched the Where's Waldo cartoon series.
I didn't know that was real. Is Waldo Canadian?
I don't think so, but I mean,
he wears what is basically a Canadian flag,
and a toque. He wears a toque with a pom pom on.
Yeah, he wears a beanie.
No, he wears a toque. Spanky. He wears a toque. You know what? I'm gonna claim him for Canada because I mean nobody checks these things, so pretty
Yeah,
much
what did I-
anyone you can say. So it's like Ashton Kutcher. Oh yeah, he's Canadian. Nobody's gonna check.
Yeah, no one checks. If you say someone is Canadian, no one checks to look it up. Ever. So
Lego Neil Patrick Harris is actually Canadian. Did you know that? He was born in in Saskatoon, in Saskatchewan.
let me tell you something. You told me that, and I'm not gonna look it up, so I might as well just believe you.
But yeah, so the whole thing, the whole reason we talked about educational games for that little section, educational games aren't what they used to be. They aren't the empire that they used to be, edutainment, which I think CoolGames Inc. has talked about that a few times, but it's true. There should be better edutainment games today than there are. The best one I played like a Google Cardboard iPhone game that takes place inside cells, and it's like a VR game where it's a racing game along cells where you're collecting mitochondria or whatever.
Oh, so not prison cells. You're not like rescuing people from the industrial prison complex.
No, you're inside the cells of a body. Yeah.
Okay.
But that's actually a really good game as far as VR games go, because it's like VR F-Zero, and it's really cool, but it's also an edutainment game. Although I can't remember a single thing about cells right now, so clearly it didn't work in that regard. But anyway, we need some AAA level edutainment games to get kids back into learning, to save our youths from the terror of Call of Duty and Super Mario and Pokemon and disgusting adult games like those that don't belong with our children.
Yeah, so I feel like if we save the children, we'll make up for also doing that one video game where the goal was to kill all of them.
It's sort of,
so it's kind of like a storyline for us where, like, you know, we came on strong, and then we had like the Act 2 low point. But then like Act 3 we redeemed ourselves, so like we like did our punch beginner and you know, successful, and then also we accidentally killed all of the children, but now we save all of the children that we previously might have killed, using the power of education and video games.
And I'm pretty sure that's how reputations work. Once we've saved the children, everyone will forgive us.
Yeah, because it's like, yeah, we killed them, but we also save them later, so it's like,
you win some, you lose some.
What more do you want from us? We saved them.
Yeah, nobody's nerfed. So this is a AAA. I think it's Assassin's Creed, but for kids, and so it's a wholesome Assassin's Creed where you're traveling through time, through intricately detailed locations that are like the spreads that you read in a Where's Waldo book, where there's always so much going on those spreads. You can look at them for ages and still notice new things. And that's never really been applied to a video game well, because the NES Where's Waldo game happened and it shouldn't have. So we're gonna make it that. You're exploring a world that is very detailed and full of people and things to do, but you have to find Waldo, and you have to ask people where Waldo may be, and you're gonna track him down and save the children in doing so. Because, so does Where's Waldo? Does Waldo have maybe an antidote to some disease that all the children have, and that's why you have to find him?
I think the player character is Liam Neeson, and Waldo is Liam Neeson's spouse.
Okay.
And it's a sequel to Taken 3.
So Taken 4.
We don't call it Taken 4.
No.
We just call it When's Waldo. And you figure out, kind of like that movie, what was that M. Night Shyamalan movie where it was supposedly like not something, and then it turned out to be a sequel to one of his other movies.
That was the newest one, Split. It's a sequel to Unbreakable.
Split. Yeah, so we do kind of like one of those things where it's like, oh, it's just When's Waldo, and then you figure out, you know, well into the game that it's actually Taken 4, but not Taken 4. It's When's Waldo. So
maybe you're playing as a character that you only see from behind for the first part of the game, and you assume it's a child who's trying to find him, but then at some point you see the reflective surface of something, or you see a mirror, and you realize that you are Liam Neeson, and that is the turning point of the game. That is the Volta.
We do a lot of scenes where someone looks into a mirror and then they realize something.
Yeah, it's kind of Kojima-esque. Although we can't do Kojima anymore, didn't we say that?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, we said that. But it's weird to me because you've not even played Metal Gear Solid 5, have you?
I've not played. The only Kojima game I've played, and I don't think Kojima was even very involved in it, was Metal Gear Rising.
So you've not. So the mirror thing that I've referenced before, and I guess I've like infected you with that idea.
Yeah.
It's just a reference to like how Konami told Kojima they were firing him, so he had to just kind of like wrap up everything as quick as he could in the story and finish it out. And that's like part of the deal was like he was just looking at a mirror that he punched it, and that was the end of the game or something. But yeah, so if Liam Neeson, like you figure out, oh, you're Liam Neeson, and then after that mirror scene, we have like a video of the backstory where Liam Neeson's wife from the first 3 Taken movies, I think she's maybe dead. I've not watched the movies. And then like his daughter started getting taken away. Anyway, he remarries after whatever happens to his wife, and he marries Waldo from the Where's Waldo series of products, and now a bad guy takes every child, steals all of the children, and also, while trying to stop the bad guy from stealing all of the children, Waldo, the spouse of Liam Neeson, has also been kidnapped. So, Liam Neeson has to rescue all of the children and also Waldo.
Okay. But, so he's trying to rescue Waldo as quickly as possible, and the longer he spends on this, it's sort of a moral dilemma, because if he doesn't pursue Waldo, then he will lose track of the trail. He'll no longer know how to find him. But if he spends all of his time looking for Waldo, then more and more children are going to die at the hands of, I think it is the Pez dispensers.
Oh yeah. Yeah, so this is not only a sequel to Taken 3, it's also a sequel to Pez the movie, the video game.
Yeah. And Where's Waldo, the TV show.
Yeah.
Which I don't think I explained that. Where's Waldo, the TV show it's a VHS tape that tells you to pause it, and while the VHS is paused and flickering because it's a VHS and it doesn't pause properly, you're supposed to try and figure out where Waldo is.
That's good.
And it also tells you to like rewind the tape a bunch of times. There are different games. It's not such a good VHS tape, but it only cost me 25 cents, so I can live with it. So yeah, I think we've done a good game. So it's Assassin's Creed cross Where's Waldo cross Taken cross Pez the movie, the game.
Yeah, I like it. I think this episode might end up being a little bit shorter because Euan's a bad person and hates me. So if you really don't like that this episode was shorter, then you please send all the hate mail directly to Euan because it's all his fault.
Also, we didn't really have that many ideas this time, so if you send more ideas, please.
Yeah, so like even if you think your idea sucks, send it to us and we'll tell you if it sucks or not in the podcast. And then we'll all point at you and laugh at you, just like you should all be doing to Euan after this episode because he forgot to start his recording. But I think that was a good game. We did a good game with Wins Waldo. So if you want to send us a suggestion or a video game idea in the future to do on the podcast, you can do that by going to twitter.com/CoolGamesIncVN. Cool is spelled KEWL. Send the tweets there. I usually am the one who does Twitter and will read them on Twitter. Euan usually manages the emails, which is CoolGamesIncVN, also KEWL @gmail.com. And you can also go to the subreddit, which is reddit.com/r/CoolGamesInc, not spelled weird. Just regular cool for those subreddits. We try to check there. We do post all the episodes as like a pinned message there, but the best way to make sure that we see them would be to go to the Twitter or to comment on our YouTube channel, which you can get to by searching Cool Games Inc. Vancouver on YouTube, and I think we have one animatic up, which is from episode 2, and it's funny, and you should watch that, and it's good.
If you're searching for it on YouTube, make sure not to put the space between cool and game, because I've tried searching for it, and I don't know how to fix the SEO. I guess I should go into the channel tags, but basically it doesn't come up unless you make cool game all one word.
All right, everybody. I have been Spanky. Spanky Works on Twitter, but don't call me Spanky Works, just Spanky Works.
And Euan works, and do a good game.
Do. Please, God, tell me you recorded that.
Yeah, I recorded that. Alright. I dropped my phone as I realized that, because I was just so, oh no, I had...